All right, so you need to joint some lumber for a project you're building, but you don't have a joiner, but maybe you've got a benchtop planer. Well, you came to the right spot. I'm gonna show you how I used to joint all of my lumber with my benchtop planer with some minimal scrap wood laying around my shop. All right, so just like I said, before I had my joiner, I used my planer as a means of joining my lumber as well with a simple sled or jig that I made for my planer. So you just have to have a piece of either MDF or a piece of melamine, which is what I like to use, and it's gotta be long enough to support the piece that you're gonna be joining. Along with that, you're gonna need a handful of these door shims, which are easy to find at your local Home Depot or Lowe's or any home center. Or if you wanna stick around, I'll have another video at the end of this video showing you how I made a jig for my table saw to cut my own shims at home. The other thing you're gonna need is a hot glue gun and of course some hot glue. So let's get after it. All right, so here's the board I'll be demonstrating this on. So as you can see, it's got a little bit of a twist to it. If I push down on the corners, you can see it's definitely not flat. So what we're gonna be doing is I'll kind of do a dry run real quick, is we're just gonna be shimming with our door shims, and these are the ones that I cut at home. We're just gonna shim all the high spots like that. And you just wanna make sure that it's supported all the way around the lumber. I've got this front corner shimmed now, so I'll kind of test around it. This side's pretty good now, so I just wanna make sure to add shims anywhere where the wood's not contacting the sled. So just kind of poke around and add shims as needed. So there's a good spot that definitely needs some support. I think I'll add one there, and so on. So once you get them all fastened, we'll just be adding our hot glue to it, and we'll be gluing the shims to the sled along with our board that needs to be jointed to the shims, and then I'll go through and add some more hot glue to our actual board that we need to join to the sled as well. All right, so once your glue is dried, what I'll do is take a flush trim saw or hand saw of some sort, and I just cut off the shims that are overhanging the sled, because obviously as it sits now, it won't be able to run through my planer because it's too wide. All right, so once you got your board all glued to your sled and got your shims glued in place, I usually just do kind of a test out, just pick it up, make sure everything's solid, which that's good to go. So now it's just time to pass this first side through my planer. Once we get this first side established and it's flat, then we can remove this piece of wood from the sled and flip the board over and run the other side through the planer until that side is also flat. So I'll just mark it up. You can either use a carpenter's pencil. I got chalk handy, so I'll be using some chalk, just so I can see and make sure I'm getting this nice and flat. All right, so I got my planer all set up to joint the board we need to joint. So now it's just a matter of passing the sled with our lumber on it and establishing a couple passes until we get that top side nice and true. All right, now that we got the top side jointed, if you will, or passed through the planer, it's just time to pull this board off the sled so that we can pass the other side through the planer. All right, now that we have this top side already passed through the planer, we're just gonna flip it over, and I'd made some marks, and this is gonna be the bottom side that was actually attached to the sled. So now we'll just pass this side through, now that we have the known flat side that we already did. Pass it through the planer until all of my pencil marks are gone and the board is nice and flat. All right, so we got our board freshly jointed on our planer, so let's check for that twist that we had prior, and it is gone. All right, so there you have it. That's exactly how I used to joint my lumber before having a joiner, and how I still currently joint the lumber that's too large to pass over my joiner. So if you've got a benchtop planer and a couple scrap pieces of either MDF or melamine, a handful of door shims and hot glue gun, you can do it too. So I'm gonna have another video queued up showing you how I made the jig to cut my own door shims here at home on my table saw. So if that's something you're interested in watching, go check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.